And we're back. And as you can see, we do have a new setup that I'm super excited about. I am going to have to play around with where everything is at, but I feel like this is, new start, fresh start to things. Obviously, I'm very much a pink girl, but that's neither here nor there. Like, this microphone, though, is going to take me so much time to get used to, and I need to figure out this, like, cord situation, but I feel like we'll just take it all as it comes. I have my martini as usual, and really, I'm just ready to dive in. I actually, when listening to the podcast episodes that I filmed last week, listening to those back while I was editing, they weren't as cringy as I really anticipated them to be. So I'm very happy about that. Let's see what's going on this week. I am excited because I did touch on Solidcore auditions last week. I had gotten the email. Since then, I have had the virtual call, and auditions are scheduled for not this weekend, but next weekend. And I don't know, I'm just like super excited about that. So I'm going to keep everyone updated how that goes, because I will say that I obviously have more information now than I did, and they're looking only for a group of like 15 people max in the training. So it is definitely going to be very competitive, which is a little bit terrifying, but I also think that I'm so happy because originally I went through my like Pilates instructor training for the studio that I used to work at, and then not that, I mean, it was probably 6 months or so after that the studio near me actually opened, but obviously they would have done instructor training like probably right after I actually got done and completed mine is probably when they were having auditions for the studio that was opening. But I just know that I wouldn't have been as confident on the mic as I know I will be now, because obviously I just have the experience. And so even though in the time that the studio was like opening and everything was happening, I was disappointed that I had went the direction that I did, because I realized that this is the atmosphere I want to not only be in but coach in. I'm like so happy about it now because I just was able to develop myself as an instructor so much more, that I think will prepare me so much going into these auditions, because I am not naturally like a very outgoing, super high energy, bubbly person. When you meet me, I'm actually super shy. Like, if I don't know someone, like, I'm not the type to go up to a group of people at a party or function or event and initiate the conversation or initiate introducing myself. It's actually my worst nightmare. I'm the type that, like, in doing day-to-day things, I'm inherently independent. I love doing appointments by myself. I love to go get my nails done by myself. I also love to do that like my Ava and I always would go get our nails done like at the same place, and it's like so much fun when we go. But I also have no problem going by myself. I have no problem doing a day full of things by myself. I don't mind eating at a restaurant or something like that by myself. I actually like don't mind doing it. But if I'm going to go to an event or a function where I like the majority of people I don't know, I want there to be someone that's going with me that I know. So I have like either, whether it's just a person or a group, I have that comfort zone to be in. when all of this is happening. So with coaching or like instructing, it was really nerve-wracking for me to get on the mic because it's just not something. I don't know in that moment if it was like not knowing people, or if it was because I was doing it, in front of like a group of people or like leading a class for people I didn't know. But either way, when I started, I definitely had a lot to, I definitely needed a lot of development and help articulating what I was saying, because I would really have a hard time explaining a move without demonstrating it. And where I used to teach, if there was an empty machine, we were fully encouraged to demonstrate a move on the machine. Not that you had to do it, but it wasn't frowned upon to use it. But at Solidcore, they don't do that. They will like demonstrate a move or two at the beginning of class, but after, like, once class starts, like, they're not hopping on a machine to demonstrate something. So you really have to be able to describe something in enough detail that someone can not only do the exercise but do it correctly, because form is so underrated and so important and really has to be cued so well that I am happy I was able to improve and get so much better at that before these auditions, because they don't come around very often. So once it feels a little bit make or break until next year, if I'm going to be honest, which sounds so dramatic, but when you really want something, I don't think it's dramatic. I mean, relativity always plays into things. So yes, I do take that piece of it, but I'm just really excited. I do really think it's going to go well, but I also get nervous. Like, I'm a person that has nerves and gets nervous. So that's just there either way. We have to pick a song. I was reading through and I didn't see anything about a dress code, and that makes me want to wear a color like pink or something that's going to make me stand out. I don't know if everyone's going to have that same idea, and then we're just going to be there looking like a pack of Skittles or a Crayola pack, but I feel like I am going to do something like, I mean, honestly, probably pink. And obviously, an excuse to buy an outfit is an excuse to buy an outfit. And this is one of those occasions. Really, every occasion is that occasion, but especially this. We've also have to pick our move that we're going to do, and it can't be using the machine. And we have to pick our song. And Ava's also auditioning, and I like already had picked out my song, but then she made a really good point of like, we only have so much time to do it. So I feel like I may either need to pick a different song or cut mine down to the amount of time that it is, so that I know like when the time's going to be coming up if we don't have like any sort of clock or anything, which I can just wear my Apple Watch, but also my Apple Watch is really old, so it dies really fast, and I feel like that would not be a good thing to rely on. Anywho, that is the update with Solidcore auditions. So I will just continue to update as I go through the process, because I just feel like it's really exciting. And honestly, I grew up dancing, so I love an audition. Like, even though I get really nervous, I think that there's like the adrenaline aspect of it, of knowing that like you're going out to perform, and with the, idea of getting picked or selected. I don't know if it's like the oh my god, words. Exclusivity? Whatever. In it that makes it even more exciting, but that's definitely there. Enough on that. So obviously this used to be girls in property management, so I do work an apartment complex. I manage an apartment complex, and today, well, okay, one of our amenity spaces, the last like 3 times that I have gone to walk it, and I will say there has been like weeks in between these time spans because we each walk a specific area of the property once a week and then rotate that after the fact. So I'm not up there every day, and we do have someone that cleans our amenity spaces daily, but each of the times that I've gone, literally 3 times in the last like month or month and a half, I've found like heart confetti on like the ground, on the furniture. It's just so weird because I pick it up, I throw it away, and then I come back and there's more heart confetti. First of all, it's not Valentine's Day, so it's not like someone had a Valentine's Day party that they threw and this is leftover confetti. And I just like the first time was odd, but it's like it could have been any kind of party or content or whatever, because a lot of people use this space for content as well. The second time I went, it was even weirder because it's been 2-3 weeks in between and now it's here. But then I'm thinking like, okay, is it someone's like theme to something, like they do content and this is the theme? I don't know. And then when I went there today and there was heart confetti again in a different spot, I was like, okay, this is weird. So I went back to check the cameras, and as like Ava and I were watching, like, kid you not, I posted a reel about it on Charm and Chaos podcast Instagram page, but there is like no joke, like orbs on that we caught on camera. And it was so freaky because we were just talking about before that we feel like that room is haunted. And it was like, I've never seen, it wasn't like where you'll like see someone's camera footage and it's like a bunch of like, where almost you can't tell if it's like dust or if it's actually like something. But this was like a clear, first of all, there was 2 different like balls of energy, but the very first one that we saw, it was like a very clear ball of energy. It almost looked like it was reminding me kind of like a jellyfish because it was like clear, but then you can see it. And then as we like backed up more, there was like this other like solid ball of light that like as it would move around, it would kind of change shapes, and at one point literally looked like it was a person. Like I could see like for a brief moment what looked like feet. So that was really weird. And not only that, it like consumed like 2 hours of my day, I feel. So I went because, okay, so on the last pod I talked about trying to be more productive in my day to day. So this week, normally I work out at 6 a.m. I decided to try working out at 5 a.m. so that I have an extra hour in my morning to do content and get like any of my like personal page content or the podcast, like anything like that, edited, posted, scheduled, the works. And then obviously, because I really try in each thing that I do to be present in that thing. So if I'm going to work out, I'm trying not to let my mind wander to what is after. Now, I'm not gonna lie, knowing like if I'm going and I've decided I'm gonna get like a latte after, the prospect of the latte afterwards is nice and motivating, but I really do try to mentally be in what I'm doing. So if I'm working out, I'm focusing on whatever I'm doing in that workout, and I'm not thinking about after the 15 minutes are over. If I'm doing content, I'm focused on like my energy is in editing or recording or scheduling or whatever. If I'm like work in my 9 to 5, that's where my energy is, so that I can make sure everything that I'm doing is quality and intentional. So with that, I have started, well, okay, calm down, I started yesterday waking up 4 to work out at 5. And somehow yesterday I feel like I was like basically done when I would normally get done, like be done getting ready, and I didn't add anything extra into it. But maybe because I was recording, I was doing like a day in my life routine type recording. So maybe because I was recording, it took longer. Because just, I feel like when you're doing things for the camera, it's not as. So, anyway, that actually could have played a part into it. But today, I I was done an hour earlier than I normally would have been. So then I had an hour before I started my full-time job to get some content things done, which I did. Okay, like that's great, amazing, love. That was the plan. And then as my full time job was starting, I'm like, okay, I need to make a list of things to do because I want to try doing that and see how that helps me be productive during the day, because essentially I'm just trying to figure out what's going to be most beneficial for me to be productive. I'm very type A, so I've always been a very big like to-do list planner type of person, but I do think as your daily life changes, you almost have to like find a system of not only what works best for you, but what works best for you in these situations or jobs or whatever. Because, for instance, I used to work in finance, and the type of CRM that we had tasks that we could create the task and schedule it and put notes. We could assign it to someone else if the task was like next steps was for them. So it was such a good system for me to be able to keep track of things and not let things slip through the cracks. Because even if what I had to do came to me in the form of an email, I would just turn that email into a task so that I didn't forget about it. Fast forward, now I'm in property management. We still use a version of CRM, but this version of CRM, that's why I never understand why when a job will ask like, oh, it's, you need to have CRM experience, or it would be nice if you have CRM experience, because everyone's CRM is different. So why is it like, I mean, maybe just because then you can catch on to it, but I don't know. I know a lot of people that aren't good with CRM that have the experience, but it doesn't mean they're good. I digress. This CRM does not have that system, so I feel like I'm trying to find the best system for me, and that has been a challenge. So my thought process today was I'm going to start out by just writing my like daily to-do list, because I have in this industry, I feel like there's so many things that like there's so many steps sometimes to get one thing done, because it has to go through so many different people before the thing can actually be accomplished, that I have to have multiple to-do lists, which I'm sure a lot of people have multiple to-do lists, but I almost need to have like a daily to-do list in conjunction with my ongoing projects. So I've been using Notion because it also works with Google Calendar, and I'm very much like an Apple girly. Like I have a Mac, an iPhone, an iPad, all the things, but that's not like what my work computer is. And I did, when I was kind of looking up productivity, I like ideas, tips, tricks, all the things. One of the girls, like, she also said she's very much an Apple girly, but she does use Google Calendar and Notion and everything. And so for me, if another Apple girly is advocating for that, I mean, who am I to say like that she's wrong? Don't knock it till you try it. And not only that, but I love to make things pretty and customize it to myself, because I am so much more likely to be productive if something has an aesthetic. And obviously, if that aesthetic matches me. So I also saw that she like could like customize her Google Calendar, which I'm still working on that part of it. But I'm like, okay, I'm in, because I do like Notion. I do obviously have Gmail, so I can just have that those two sync together. Great, got it, whatever. But I wanted to do like my to-do list, like a daily to-do list and then ongoing projects using Notion. And I didn't get that far because I walked this amenity and then got engrossed in this film. Also did not even like this somehow truly in the video. I can't even explain it honestly, but either way, I didn't even find the culprit of the pink confetti hearts. Not that there is anything wrong with confetti hearts, but like just clean it up so that other people can enjoy the space cleaned as well, because it was like all over the furniture. And it's just, that's not like something that the next person wants to deal with when they want to come in and use the space. And then it gets to the point where I'm like, once I have lost that, I hate to use like the word motivation because I know that that can be very, I don't even know what I want to say with that. But once I kind of do lose that like moment or like motivation, then I'm like, okay, I don't want to like do anything else. But it's only 1:00. So then I decide, okay, I just need to eat because I was really hungry. So then you know how you get into those moments when you're like, okay, I'm starving to the point I can't think about anything else. But like once I eat this meal, then like you're almost like making that promise to yourself that you're going to be productive after. And then of course, by the time this always happens when we actually like, we rarely buy lunch, but every time that we do, it's like a 2 hour ordeal, because by the time we figure out where we want to go and then we actually order, like 10 people have like come in and we've gotten distracted and we've had to go do other things. So it's like we literally, if we're gonna eat lunch, we really have to start talking about it like when we open, because otherwise, like by the time we were actually done, we started talking about it at 1. We weren't actually done eating until like 3. And honestly, that was actually a really good turnaround time for how it normally is. Like normally we'll even get to the point where it's like, okay, now it's already like 4:00. We're about to be done and eat dinner. So scratch that, which is probably why we don't eat lunch a lot. But we did manage to get lunch. We ate. And then I did not feel any more motivated. Probably because at that point, like at 1:00, it was like, okay, it's too early to say that you're done. Like it's too early to clock out in your mind and check out and whatever. But at 3, we are getting closer to the time where I'm like, I don't want to do anything else. But I will say, I forced myself to do okay, on my list of things to do, I forced myself to do the thing on the list that I've been dreading the most, which is silly. You know how sometimes it's like literally something that will take you 5 to 10 minutes and you're like putting it off because you either don't like the process of doing or whatever, it can be annoying, or you're like nervous for the reaction or questions that can come after. But I'm also like, okay, but either way I have to do it. So prolonging it isn't helping anything. And I'm like worrying about something that hasn't happened yet. So I'm already making someone have a reaction that they haven't had. And it, like 9 times out of 10, it doesn't even like go that way. The reactions don't even end up being a negative thing. So I don't, and then I'm like, why was I like so anxious about it? But I forced myself to do the thing on the list. And not only that, I actually forced myself to do the thing on my list I didn't want to do while I was going to pick up our lunch. So I hadn't even eaten yet, and I got the thing that I didn't want to do out of the way first. And I will say that really helped me to tackle the rest of the things on my list. Granted, by the time I actually made my to-do list, I only had 4 things on it. But so many things pop back up, and like things can take different, amounts of time. And I actually do think that I accomplished something else that wasn't even on the list. So that was also very good. But yeah, I'm just trying to, because once I get home from work, I really try to disconnect and spend time with my husband, because otherwise we just don't have like the time to like, like decompress or catch up on our days, just talk about the different things that we have going on. So that's been really nice. But also I'm really excited for our new cleaning person to start, and I actually like text her last night. She hasn't actually answered me, but I did text her last night and asked her like how much would it actually be for every week, because at this point I don't know. I know I said this on the last one, but I don't know how people do it, because it's like I don't even feel like I scroll social media or like watch a lot of TV on my own. I will say that like when I get home from work, by the time I get home from work, the earliest that it is 6. But a lot of times things happen and I have to end up staying after, or if like I'll go pick up dinner or something, like by the time I'm getting home it's 6:30 or 7, or sometimes later at that point. So then if I'm waking up at 4 o'clock, like I can't stay up super late. So by the time my husband and I like decompress, eat dinner together, talk about our days, talk about things that we have going on, and then I like shower and we are watching one of our shows, we have time for like one show maybe before I'm like knocked out and ready to do it all over again. So that's where I just am trying to figure out my groove, because again, when coaching does come like back around, when it does come around to me actually being on the schedule in coaching, that is going to be a thing. And I want to be able to have these other things down so that when whatever that schedule is, I can just work the other things to be, if they need to be at different times of the day, that's fine. But I don't want things to slip through the cracks. And I have a really bad I think sometimes like this is where I struggle with productivity, because I have a really bad habit of like wanting to do all these things, and it's like all or nothing. Like either I'm balancing all of these things or I'm not doing it at all. And so I've really tried to improve, especially in the last year, of like developing one thing, and if the other things don't necessarily fall in line right now, that's okay, because once I not perfect, but like ideally, improve this one thing, I can move on to the next thing to get better at and improve, and then ideally at the end of all of it, everything is moving like a well-oiled machine. So that is just an ongoing process, but I would really love if I can work it out to have my cleaning lady come every week, because like really that would take so much off my plate that I can't even begin to describe. And being in a clean environment is just unmatched. So we shall see how that is going to look. I'm like trying to think about what else is going on in my life at the moment. I feel like things just overall are really fucking good, and I don't know the last time I've been able to say that. I mean, life has genuinely turned around for me in a significant way in the last year, even like a little bit longer than a year, but definitely in the last year. But it just is crazy how you go through seasons where you don't know how you're gonna make it to the next hour, let alone the next day. And then it's amazing how you get to these moments where you're like, so that was all worth it. I'm really fucking proud of myself in that moment for continuing to persevere even when it was really fucking hard. And now look where we're at. And you can really be proud of that version of you that got you here. On another completely and random note, like, I genuinely don't know what is happening with the weather, and I want to know if it's happening for other people in other states, because normally by now I feel like it would be 100 plus degrees and we're getting like no rain, whereas it has been raining like crazy. I mean, today this thunderstorm came out of nowhere. Like, when I tell you nowhere, and I don't feel like this is a place, like I've mentioned, like I'm from Colorado. In Colorado, not even just the rain, the seasons come when they want to come, and that could be all in one day. That could be snow in June, that could be 75 in December. I mean, truly, there's no predicting there, there's no predicting. But I do feel like there has been a general pattern of how weather has gone here, and there is definitely a rainy season, but I've seen that more anywhere from like February to April, and we're like going into June and the forecast is rain all this week and not a triple digit in sight. And like, don't get me wrong, I would love to keep it that way because I love rain, and even though I do love summer and like the sunshine and just like, truly, Colorado has an unmatched summer, specifically Colorado Springs. I mean, it's like a dream. It really is a dream. But by now, we would be like, I feel like normally we're already entering the triple digits end of April, which has not been the case this year. We've had so much more moisture than we normally have from what I have seen since we've been here. But it's just like, I don't know, like, is the weather being weird everywhere else? Because it feels like I'm in like a different reality than I've ever been in, because I don't know, it's just, it feels really weird. And I feel like when weather does things differently, you're kind of like, what's happening? Because this isn't normal. And although I do really like it, but I will say, oh my gosh, I love rain. I love rain. I love rain. I feel like, and maybe it'd be different if it's where I actually lived or grew up, but I feel like I could truly live in a place where it rained, like, that was like a norm. I feel like I would be one of the people that could live there and thrive because I love rain. But ever since being in this industry, thunderstorms do scare me, because if something happens to the property or someone's unit or something, I've got to respond and figure out what's happening right away, and that takes the enjoyment out of it for sure. So that is not ideal. But today it was, I mean, we got a call, like one of those automated calls from the city saying that like a thunderstorm. I noticed that the skies all of a sudden, because it was bright sunshiny day, that the skies got really dark. And then, because I actually thought we did, even though this rain season went longer, I actually did think like, okay, we're like good, we're done. And no, now all of a sudden for like this whole next week, rain's in the forecast. It's actually going to be interesting to see if it affects our traveling to go to and come back from Colorado. But it was like, it came down, and it came down hard, and like our flagpoles were like moving all over the place. It was going crazy. I mean, I for a moment was, again, not like terrified of the storm, but I'm just like, oh my gosh, please no issues with the property, because that really is the last thing that you want. And that is like something that not only is like such an interesting aspect of this industry, but that I do take so seriously with this industry, this is my job, but these are people's homes. And that is like a major level of responsibility when so many things that happen are completely out of my control. But I always to put myself in that position of like, yes, this is someone's home. So, and I mean, there's like always, ways that like sometimes there's only like so much I can do just with like policy or legally or whatever. But that is something that like these thunderstorms lately have been really terrifying me when they just come out of nowhere and come so hard. I'm like, I was telling Ava, I felt like we were about to be in like the Wizard of Oz. Like it was so crazy. I feel like we were about to be swept up in a tornado and in an alternate universe, and we were going to be skipping with scarecrows down the road here soon. But it settled itself, and now there's already people at the pool. I don't know actually if this mic is gonna pull feedback from all of the chaos that is happening outside of these walls, but it did not stop anyone from. Also, it's so crazy because I know that it's summer. I like never fail to spill on myself during a podcast, but I know that it's summer, but we're like not complex with a ton of kids. And I'm like, what are all these people doing at the pool so late and not on a weekend? I mean, truly, people are at the pool like living it up past 10 p.m. on weeknights. Like, truly, if you're one of those people, like, what are you doing? Because, like, don't you have to get up in the morning? I mean, I get that there's, like, not everyone works a Monday through Friday job, but it's just crazy how it's, like, so consistent, and that people are just, like, so comfortable to throw ragers on a Tuesday evening or Tuesday night. And how the people that do have kids, like, how they will just be there, like, whatever. I'm like, is it not bedtime? Because it is, personally, it's my bedtime. So I feel like if it's my bedtime, it's like, it's time to wrap it up. It's time to wrap it up because I hate feeling like I'm HOA going down to enforce a rule because I'm getting calls from other people that are upset about such and such. And quite frankly, me too, because I want to get sleep just along with everyone else. And it is hard to do so when we're raging on a Tuesday night. So let's normalize going to sleep. Let's normalize going to sleep. And if you're at a place that the vibe is to be out and up late and whatever, more power to you. But if the vibe is not as such, then let's go to sleep. Let's pack it in. My grandparents always used to say nothing ever good happens past midnight, and I think we should change the time. I think we should make it like 9 p.m. because it's like crazy to me. I can't actually believe that I was talking about this. I think I was talking about this with Ava because I was saying how when I was in college, and yes, I know I was in college, but I danced. So I would like go to a football game or a basketball game and dance. And then like we would get done late, I feel. We would always it was like a tradition that we would go to Buffalo Wild Wings. I don't know, like it's either B-dubs or buffs or whatever, but whatever you call it, or maybe you don't call it anything, but we would always go to B-dubs after, and then I would like go home, get ready, and go back out at like 11 o'clock. And my mom would always tell me, like, I don't know, like the fact that you're like about to like go back and get ready to go out again sounds like actually horrific because I can't wait to go to sleep. And I would like think like literally if I get to the point where I can't rally to go back out, like kill me. And now I'm like, I think it's crazy when people go out past like, okay, if you're like going to dinner, yeah, I don't necessarily eat dinner early, but if you're like doing stuff, like leaving your place of residence, if it's not for like a job or something, or I guess like, something that comes up every now and then. But if you're like leaving past 9 p.m. out of your house willingly, that's what I should say. If you're like willingly leaving past 9 o'clock, why? Because I, like, as soon as I walk in my house, I could not be happier. That's actually why, too, like, whenever I'm going to pick up, like, dinner for my husband and I will go right away and pick it up because I know the second I walk in my door, like if I'm like, oh, well, I like want him to like come with me, so I'm gonna go get him. No, because the second I walk in my door, like then I know I'm not gonna want to leave and we're not leaving. And so we're just gonna be hungry. I just love to be home, and I never thought I would say that because I was never that person. I was always the person that wanted to be out and about with my friends, kicking it up, doing whatever. Like it would almost be to where everyone would be ready to go home. Like say it was like a Sunday and you've like spent all day like doing things, and then you've got to go home, and then you're like, no, because then if I go home, I have to acknowledge like the Sunday scaries, and I don't want to acknowledge that. And so like the longer that we stay out, the longer we can ignore that exists. No. Now take me home, because I'm gonna actually have more of the Sunday scaries by being out away from my home, because I'm gonna be like, I didn't get to enjoy my place of residence enough, and I need to soak that in. So for that, I don't know how. I really do see how there is a shift in not wanting to be out and about and on the town. And maybe because I had that, I don't feel like I'm missing anything because I did have that. But oh my gosh, you know what's funny? Actually, just to kind of, yeah, to wrap this one up, you know, it's funny because I said on the last podcast how ideally if I would have done what my little high school self wanted, I would have gone to CU Boulder and pledged a sorority and did the whole thing. And I ended up going to a much smaller school, and I mean, I danced, which was so fun, but it wasn't like a place that really had sororities and such. And in fact, like if you like did do the sorority or fraternity, it was kind of like cringe, which I know is like crazy because I feel like that's such the antithesis of how it is at other universities. But here it was like only kind of, it was almost like the people, oh god, this is so mean. Why am I like being a mean girl? It's almost like the people that would have never gotten accepted at a sorority or fraternity at a university where it was a big thing. Like that was, oh, it kind of reminds me of if you've seen the movie House Bunny, and she ends up being like the or the sorority mom, pledge mom, I don't know, I wasn't actually in one. So if you like, she ended up being the house mom, right? House Bunny, house mom, anyway, of the like kind of loser sorority. And then she made them cool, but like imagine that pre making them cool. God, where was I going with that? The fuck. Oh, that's where I was going with that. So where I went to school, it was actually like you went to house parties all 4 years of school. Like it wasn't something where you went to house parties until you were old enough to like go to the bars or clubs, because this town didn't have like the dive bars. Like we weren't like college students going to like the dive bars, like, or I mean there was like a couple where you would go on like a Thirsty Thursday or something, but not like primarily like we were doing house parties. And so we actually just gave like groups of people that would rent like a house after they weren't in the dorms anymore. Like we would give those houses like fraternity or sorority names. So it would be like, oh, we're like going to like Signu to party tonight, but it wasn't like actually a fraternity. It was literally just like someone's house, and we were all going and congregating there. But I always thought that was so funny how like we didn't have them, so we just made our own, for lack of better terms. And it was usually like a football team's house or like basketball or whatever. But I don't know, funny, good times. It really was. It was like, it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun in college, and you know, honestly, it's like when you kind of look back, like you really like, I've had fun in like all of my life. It's just like there's been times where in between the fun, I'm like, shall we continue? No, jokes, 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 jokes. But we're not. But we're here. We're here. We're thriving. We are drinking a gin martini with a nice little pink setup, and we're happy. So, with that, oh, just like some updates, I am, as I mentioned probably 1,000 times before, going to Colorado this weekend, but I'm excited because Mama G is going to make a return on the podcast, potentially my brother as well. So I will be getting that one up after. And then I believe that once that one is up, by the time, I think we may do another like part 1, part 2 with them again. So after that, I will know, I believe, about whether I made the cut for Solidcore or not. So that's exciting. And in the meantime, I will be posting reels and everything to my social media pages so that you can follow along with the day-to-days. And just excited to keep going, continuing. I don't know why this like mic and setup just makes like things feel so much like more real than they were before, and I love that. So I'm glad that I made this little investment. We will work to make it a little less janky, but either way, I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it. So I hope everyone has a great rest of, well, okay, this is going to come out on next Saturday. So I hope everyone has a great weekend, and cheers to that.